Have you ever experienced a moment when it felt like God was allowing your dreams, your hope, your desires, your prayers to die? You knew that He could do it. You maybe even thought that He would do it. And instead, it felt like He just didn't show up on time or at all. If you have experienced that, then I want to walk through a story in the Bible with you that may help you see why God was making you wait. So let's get into this Bible study on John chapter 11. So we're going to kind of walk through this in chunks of verses versus me just reading through the whole thing. So we're going to start with verses 1 through 6. And for those asking, I am reading from the Christian Standard Bible. This is the Tony Evans Study Bible, and I will have it linked below if you want to grab one for yourself. Verse 1, it reads, "Now a man was sick, Lazarus from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. And it was her brother Lazarus who was sick. So the sisters sent a message to him, 'Lord, the one you love is sick.' When Jesus heard it, he said, 'This sickness will not end in death, but is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it.' Now Jesus loved Martha, her sister, and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was." Okay, let's walk through this. So we have Lazarus, Mary, and Martha. And John tells us that Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. And it was their brother Lazarus who was sick. So they send a message to Jesus and say, "Lord, the one you love is sick," right? So they don't just say, "Hey, our brother is sick." They don't just say, "Hey, Lazarus is sick." They say, "Lord, the one whom you love is sick." And when Jesus heard this, he said, "This sickness will not end in death, but it is for the glory of God." This sickness will not end in death, but it is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. What are we supposed to get from this? There was purpose in the sickness. There was purpose in the pain. He was essentially saying that this sickness is going to happen because there is some purpose on the other side of it, right? So he says that, and then in verse 5 it says, "Now Jesus loved Martha, her sister, and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was." Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm reading that, I'm like, that doesn't sound a lot like love to me, right? Because you loved them, you stayed instead of going, right? And I don't know if you struggle with this, but sometimes I struggle with, God, you say that you love me, but the way that you're showing up in this situation doesn't feel so loving. The way that you are still not answering this prayer doesn't feel so loving. The way that you are not showing up in this situation doesn't feel so loving. But sometimes God's love is in the delay, right? And I know it's so hard for us, y'all. You have no idea. I know it's so hard for us sometimes to sit in the middle of a delay, to sit in the middle of an unanswered prayer, and to know that God can do something, but to wonder, will He do it for me? Will He do it when I send for you, when I pray, when I cry out, when I call for you? Are you going to show up? And for those of us who have been disappointed by other people, who have been disappointed by friends, who have been disappointed by loved ones, the delay can add on to those wounds. The delay can add on to that rejection. The delay can add on to that abandonment. And the enemy can use that to tell us, see, he doesn't really love you. See, he doesn't really care. See, he doesn't really have your best interest at heart. But I want you to see that delay does not mean that you are not loved. But sometimes the delay is the very proof of God's love. And then we get to verses 11 through 16. So verse 11, it says, "He said this, And then he told them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm on my way to wake him up." Then the disciples said to him, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will get well." Jesus, however, was speaking about his death, but they thought he was speaking about natural sleep. So Jesus then told them plainly, "Lazarus has died. I'm glad for you that I wasn't there so that you may believe. But let's go to him." Then Thomas, called Twin, said to his fellow disciples, "Let's go too so that we may die with him." So the sisters, they send for Jesus. They tell him, "The one whom you love is sick." Jesus tells his disciples, he says, "The sickness will not end in death, but it is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." As he continues to talk to his disciples, he then later on says, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm on my way to wake him up." Jesus intentionally did not go to Lazarus, did not go to where they were until he knew that Lazarus had died. And again, that can feel like, why wouldn't you come when there was still time? Why wouldn't you answer when I still had hope? You know, it might not be something that's physically died, but maybe a dream of yours has died. Maybe a desire of yours has died. And you're like, "Lord, I've been praying. Lord, I've been believing. Lord, I've been fasting. Lord, I've been showing up. I've been doing all of the things." And now you show up after it's dead, right? And it can feel like, why did you have to wait so long? But if we remember what Jesus said in the beginning, it was because there was glory on the other side of it. There was purpose on the other side of it. He was up to something even when all we could see was death. He was up to something even when all we could see is unanswered prayer. He has always been up to something. Right? When we see the fall in Genesis, he was up to something. When we see the death of Jesus, he is up to something. When we see the resurrection of Jesus, when we see the ascension of Jesus, God is still up to something. And in your life where you see death, in your life where you see dreams that have died, hopes that have died, desires that have died, know that God is still up to something. So then we get to verses 17 through 45. And so we're just going to kind of walk through these. I'm going to read and stop for the sake of time. So it says, when Jesus arrived, again, this is verse 17. When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now, this is important because in that time, in the Jewish culture, they believed that the spirit of a person hovered around the dead body for 3 days. So the fact that when Jesus arrived, he had found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days, that is when they believed that he was dead and gone. Okay, there was no hope for any type of resurrection. He was dead and gone. And sometimes Jesus comes into our situations. Sometimes God comes into those situations that we believe are dead and gone. It's not until we believe, surely there's no way I can come back from this. Surely there's nothing that God can do with these ashes. There's no beauty he can bring from this. There is nothing that God can do with this child. There is nothing that God can do with this relationship. Surely this is dead and gone. And that is the moment when Jesus shows up. He shows up and he finds that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, less than 2 miles away. Many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them about their brother. As soon as Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Then Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, Lord, if you had shown up, Lord, if you had come when I sent for you, Lord, if you had come when I prayed, Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Yet even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you." Then Jesus says, "Your brother will rise again." And Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." She understood this theology, right? But Jesus responds to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me, even if he dies, will live. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? What was Jesus saying in this moment? Jesus was saying that the resurrection is not an event, but it is a person, right? Jesus is the resurrection. Then we get to verse 32. And it says, as soon as Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and told him, Lord, if you had been here. Again, she said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Lord, if you had showed up on time. Lord, if you had just been here, X, Y, and Z wouldn't have happened. When Jesus saw her crying and the Jews who had come with her crying, he was deeply moved in his spirit and he was troubled. Where have you put him? He asked. Lord, they told him, come and see. And Jesus wept. So the Jews said, see how he loved him? But some of them said, couldn't he who opened the blind man's eyes also have kept this man from dying? I don't know if you guys watched last week's video, but I talked about remembering and the spiritual discipline of remembering what God had done before. And when we remember what he's done before, then we're able to have faith for what he can do in the future. But sometimes our remembering causes us to put God in a box, and we think, surely if you did this, then you can do this. Or surely if you did it that way before, you can do it this way now. Surely if you did this, you would do this, right? And that's what the Jews were saying. Surely the one who opened the blind man's eyes also could have kept this man from dying. Surely the one who spoke a word and healed people that weren't even in front of him could have spoke a word and kept Lazarus from dying. Surely the same God who did this before could answer the prayer that I'm praying now. And so what do you do when you're in that surely place? That surely, God, you could have done this, but you chose not to. What do? You have to trust that there is purpose. You have to trust that God is working everything together for your good. You have to trust that he sees the bigger picture, even when you can only see what's in front of you. Sometimes we have to remember that God has this bird's eye view where we can only see directly in front of us. He is able to see the whole picture. And sometimes in the middle of that surely, we are missing the bigger picture of what he is trying to do. So then we get to verse 38, and it says, then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Remove the stone, Jesus said. And Martha told him, Lord, there is already a stench because he has been dead 4 days. Some of the things that we have been praying for, that we have been hoping for, have felt dead for so long that there's a stench around it. Maybe there's a stench around marriage because you've been single longer than you expected. And maybe there's a stench around motherhood because the child hasn't come in the time in which you prayed. And maybe there's a stench around your dreams because you feel like they are too far gone for God to resurrect. Is there an area of your life where it has been dead so long that now there's a stench, that when someone brings it up or there's an opportunity to pray, you push it back away, or you don't want to roll the stone away? If Jesus tries to deal with the area of your heart, you tell him, no, there's a stench because it's been dead too long. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it in the grave. There's no point in resurrecting this thing because it's been dead so long. But Jesus is saying in this moment, let's roll the stone away. Let's roll the stone away. It doesn't matter that it's been fully dead for 4 days. It doesn't matter how long it's been dead, because the giver of life is here. So Jesus says to her, didn't I tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? So they removed the stone, and then Jesus raised his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you heard me. I know that you always hear me, but because of the crowd standing here, I said this so that they may believe you sent me. Twice he's talking about this belief. He says, to Martha, didn't I tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? He says in his prayer, I know that you always hear me, but because of the crowd standing here, I said this so that they may believe you sent me. There was purpose in this delay. There was purpose in this death, that those who were there, that those who were witnesses would come to believe. What is the purpose in the thing that has died in your life, the place where there has been delay? What if there is purpose for those who will witness it? What if God is using this thing that you feel is too far gone to show other people why you should believe? After he said this, he shouted with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, bound hand and foot with linen strips and with his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, unwrap him and let him go. And this is so important. Verse 45, therefore, many of the Jews who came to Mary and saw what he did believed in him. Many who saw what took place believed in him. Sometimes the waiting is not about you getting what you want sooner. And please know that I am talking to myself, because there is something that I have been praying for, and I'm like, Lord, what are you doing? What are we doing? What do I need to do? Do I need to check off a box? Just give me a list. Just tell me what you want from me so I can do the thing. But sometimes it is not about you waiting, but it is about what the Lord is trying to reveal about himself to you, to those who are witnesses of your waiting, right? To those who will be witnesses of the thing being resurrected. Maybe there is something that he is trying to reveal about himself. Maybe he is trying to glorify himself out of your life, because that is the whole point. Y'all know that for the past couple of weeks, we have been talking about faith that prevails. Faith that prevails is the kind of faith that trusts God, not just because he answers our prayers quickly, but faith that prevails is faith that trusts God even when he lets something die, so that his glory can be revealed. So here's a question that I want you to sit with, and feel free to comment down in the comment section as well. Is there an area of your life where a dream, a hope, a desire, a prayer has died? Maybe there's a little stench around it. Maybe it's hard to talk about. Maybe it's discouraging. Maybe you've decided to just roll the stone in front of it and leave it there. But what would it look like for you to surrender that prayer, that hope, that desire to God? And what would it look like for him to get the glory out of it? I want to encourage you, if you can relate to this, that you are not wrong for grieving. It is not bad for you to grieve. We even see in the scripture that Jesus wept with those who were weeping. He felt compassion for those who were grieving. So you're not bad for grieving. You're not bad for being heartbroken over the dream that has died. But I do want to encourage you to believe that God is working in the midst of this. I do want you to be encouraged that the resurrection was not just an event, but that it was a person. And so that means that even the dead things in your life, he can resurrect as well. If this is something that you want to dive deeper in, then I'd love to have you join me inside our community at the Well. We will be talking more about this throughout the week. Details will be in the description box and in the comment section below. As always, I love you. Jesus loves you so much more.